Why is an awakening needed right now? Scroll any social media news feed and you see it. It seems like the world is on fire. There's just so much happening and everything is changing so quickly. Also, division is increasing. People are more disconnected and lonelier than ever. Anxiety, stress, confusion, fear, and instability have become normal. What used to feel grounded now feels uncertain. What used to be clear, now it's all blurred. And this isn't just happening in society, it's happening in people. People are exhausted because they're trying to hold it together. They're trying to keep up with what's happening and they're trying to figure out who they are in this constantly shifting world that they're living in. And the response is to try to cope. Is to try to keep up, to improve, to adjust, to fix, and to change. Might not know what needs to change, but something must need to change. But very few people stop and ask, what is all of this actually built on? And that's why this isn't a time for change. It's a time for an awakening. But awakening, it's not what most people think. Awakening is not about connecting to your higher self. It's not about becoming something new. It's not about improving your life, changing, fixing your habits, and it's not about becoming a better version of yourself. Awakening is about seeing clearly, not just your life and who you are, but the reality your life is operating within. One of the most precious things we've been given is free will. Free will is intentional. It's an expression of God's love because love cannot exist without choice. God created us with the ability to choose Him or to choose ourselves. Awakening is the moment you realize you have that choice. And not just that you have it, but that you're already using it. Awakening happens when you recognize that your life, it's not just physical, it's not just psychological, and it is not neutral. And this is why your choices matter so much. There are deeper forces at work. There are systems shaping how you think, decide, and live. There are sources that define who you are. Awakening is when you begin to question what you've assumed is normal so that you can see what is actually true, so you can step out of all of the lies. It's where you stop moving blindly and start examining the foundation of your life, the foundation of your being. You start examining your identity. And this is where things begin to shift because most people don't realize that their life is not just being influenced, it's being governed. What you're experiencing right now, none of it is random. And it's a result of something. And it's actually a result of the choices that you have been making within, right, the system that has been shaping you. And this is happening whether or not you're aware of it or that you recognize it. You're choosing from a source. You're choosing from a source that is shaping you, that's influencing you, and that is governing how you think, live, and respond. That is determining the life you're experiencing. So the question in awakening is not, who am I? The question is, what has shaped who I am and what is governing my life? Because you can know who you are and still be governed by the wrong source. You can have language for your identity and still live from a foundation that was never designed to establish it or to support it. You can even believe what is true and still be shaped by what is not. And that's why this is not just about understanding yourself better. It's about seeing clearly what has been forming you and what has been governing your life. And that is why it's time for an awakening. The four areas of awakening. This is where the awakening begins to unfold. Because once you begin asking the right questions, you don't just see your life differently. you begin to see the reality your life has been operating within. And from there, a new set of choices opens up to you. Okay, so that awareness is revealed across four areas, and each area reveals something essential about what has shaped you and what is governing your life. Awakening to the spiritual reality of life. The first area of awakening is recognizing that life, it's not just physical, psychological, and social, it is spiritual. The spiritual realm, it's not part of life, it's the foundation of all life. It's actually the ground you're standing on. Most people live as though life is shaped only by what can be seen, by our experiences and relationship and the environments that we're in. But whether you recognize it or not, the sources shaping your identity and your life are spiritual. The question is not whether spiritual influences exist. The question is which one have been shaping your identity. Awakening begins when you realize that life is not only influenced by what you can see, but also by what you cannot. The awakening to the counterfeit identity. The second area of awakening is recognizing that not all identity is true. Most people never consciously choose the foundation of their identity at initially starting out. When your identity is being formed, it is formed slowly through influences and systems that feel normal, natural, and even beneficial. But many of those influences are counterfeit. And there are four primary ways that identity is formed outside of God. There's psychological identity. That's identity formed through experiences, trauma, and personal narrative, where a person becomes defined by what has happened to them. Performance-based identity. This is identity built on achievement, productivity, and success, where worth is tied to what a person does. Socially constructed identity. This is identity formed through culture, labels, and group affiliation, where identity is shaped by external definitions and expectations. Spiritual, but not from God. This is identity formed through spiritual concepts and ideas and self-defined truth, where identity feels elevated, but the source remains the self. Each of these can feel real, but feeling real does not make it true. Awakening is when you begin to recognize which one of these or a combination of these has been shaping you. Awakening to the systems governing your life. The third area of awakening is seeing that identity, it's not just personal, it is governed by systems. Most people believe they're living independently, making decisions based on their own thoughts, preferences, and circumstances. But life does not operate without systems. And there are two systems that shape identity and how life is lived. There's the worldly system. This is a system where identity is constructed from performance, approval, comparison, and achievement. In this system, what you produce determines your value. What other thinks influences your identity, and success defines your worth. This system trains people to live from the what. Then you have the kingdom system. This is a system where identity is received from God and life flows from that identity. In this system, identity comes before performance, being precedes doing, purpose flows from relationship with God. Life begins from the who. Awakening is when you begin to see which system your life has been operating within. The awakening to the origin flow of life. The fourth area of awakening is understanding how life is actually designed to work. Life is not random, it follows a structure. At the highest level, life is designed to flow in this order: who, why, how, what. Who you are determines why you do what you do. Your identity shapes your motivations, what you pursue, what you value, and what drives your decisions. The how sits between motive and outcome. It's the bridge between what you intend and what you produce. It's the method you employ to achieve the what. And that ultimately determines what you do and what your life produces. Now, within that flow, there's a deeper structure at work because everything is downstream from identity. Therefore, everything flows from identity, from the who. So, from the who flows being, then producing, doing, and fruit. Being is your internal state, your emotional tone, your beliefs, your heart posture, and what sustains you under pressure. Producing is what your internal life generates, your personality, values, virtues, mindset, and how you influence others. From producing flows doing. This is the visible expression. It's your work, your decisions, your leadership, and your relationships. From doing, or from everything that has flowed so far, comes fruit, which is the outcome, the impact of your life, the atmosphere you create around you, and what remains over time. Now, in the worldly system, this order gets reversed. People try to determine who they are by what they do. They look to outcomes, achievement, and external validation to define identity. And when that happens, their desires, emotion, and circumstances begin to take the place of authority in their lives. So instead of things flowing from the who, things either flow from the why or they flow from the what. And then that creates identity. And this makes people reactive, unstable, and easily influenced. So, awakening reveals the proper order and exposes the distortion. Let's recap and really bring this home for you so you see the full value of the awakening phase. This is about you awakening so that you can see clearly the spiritual reality, the sources shaping your identity, the systems governing your life, and the structure your life is operating within. So that you can start to recognize something most people never stop to see. Your life is not random, it is all about choices. Once you see that, you realize something people never stop to consider, that there is no point in trying to change or improve your life without first addressing the source of your identity. Once that becomes clear, you're ready to graduate because you're kind of done examining your life. And this is when you start standing at a decision point. The question is no longer whether your identity has been shaped. The question is, am I being shaped by the right source? And this is when you have what you need to properly exercise your free will. You're now awake to your choices. You are prepared to choose what will continue to shape you, what will define you, and what source you will live from. Awakening does not happen all at once. It happens through education, exposure, recognition, and some really honest reflection. This is simply an intro video. It's a way to start seeding what this channel is here to walk you through so that you can start to see clearly, so you can recognize what has been shaping you, and you can get to the point where you can make the choice of your source with clarity. Because until that becomes clear, nothing else will.